everybody, welcome back. Gerald here with your weather forecast. Hope you're having a wonderful Thursday so far, and hopefully you've had a good week. In today's video, we are going to discuss this active weather going into next week, and I think we'll have some wintry mischief across sections of the eastern part of the country, and maybe even sections of the mid-Atlantic, and potentially parts of the southeast. And I say that, and I probably shouldn't have even said that, honestly, but what I am going to do is be very honest with you in this video, because I'm sure you'll probably see plenty of pictures on social media of crazy ice totals and snow totals in sections of the southeast and mid-Atlantic. And obviously, we're at the point of the year now where we're pretty late into winter. A lot of us haven't seen much winter weather, so the people that want to see it are really posting those maps out there. But I'm going to be honest with you as for what I think. I'm going to show you the metrics that we look at. And just right out of the gate, I'll tell you, we're way too far away to know anything. And right now, if I was a betting man, I'd be willing to say, don't get your hopes too high. And I'll tell you why in this video. And I'm going to be super truthful with you throughout it. But if you are new here, welcome. My name is Gerald. Like I said earlier, I am a meteorology student at the University of North Carolina, Charlotte, as I'm sure you can see by all of my Charlotte gear on today. And if you haven't already subscribed, I'd love for you to do so and go ahead and join us on this journey. With all that said, though, let's go ahead and get right into it, because I'd be quite honest with you, I am running pretty late for work right now, so I need to get this done with pretty quick. So looking at radar right now, we have some of that back end snow that we were talking about yesterday here into sections of the kind of, I guess, Midwest and portions of the mountains here from West Virginia down to North Carolina. So that's helping to produce some back end snow. We also have this clipper system up here into the Dakotas that is going to swing through the Great Lakes within the next day or two, helping to bring some snow to folks up there. So looking at those current hazards out there, pretty quiet map compared to what we were dealing with a couple days ago, but we do have some kind of scattered winter weather advisories here in the east for some of that lake effect snow ongoing, and then we also have some of those advisories up here into the plains for that clipper system that is currently moving through. All right, so looking at tonight's temperatures, much colder night tonight. Most of us getting below freezing across the lower 48. That freezing line even diving all the way down south to the Gulf of Mexico tonight. So sections like Mobile, Alabama likely getting down to freezing. But overall, a pretty average January night in store for most of us. So looking at tomorrow's high temperatures, again, a pretty average January day here for late January. Again, kind of find where you live here and you can get that temperature forecast. So taking a look now at kind of the second half of this week, getting into early next week, this will set the stage for our next big system, I think, going into the middle of next week. But let's get to that first. We'll have a bit of a quiet stretch here over the next couple days here going into this weekend. We do have that clipper system up here, but again, I don't expect too many impacts with that, although some snow is definitely possible with that system. But after that, I do think we get a pretty rainy second half of the weekend. This is for Sunday afternoon here. I'll back this up a little bit. We're going to kind of get this southern bit of energy to match up with this northern bit of energy, and that's going to help to cause some stormy weather, or I shouldn't really say stormy, but rainy weather here across sections of the east. So a bit of snow will move here through the Midwest and into sections of the Northeast, and then rain on the south side of that here for your Sunday afternoon. But I don't expect anything crazy with this. I don't expect any severe weather or any winter storm-like conditions, but definitely a rainy day going from Sunday into Monday, especially for the southeast. I think you can see here this system still cranking here in the southeast. This is going into Monday morning before eventually working its way off the eastern seaboard going into early next week. But what that does is sets the stage for our next big system here that we have a lot of question marks that we're going to try to answer some of here in the next couple of minutes. But what I do want to talk about real quick is the snow totals from now going into Monday with the end of that weekend system. So again, a bit of a swath of snow here into the northern plains and Midwest. But other than that, not much snow to talk about for the rest of this week. That will likely change going into next week, but a bit of a lull to end out this week. So let me go ahead and set the stage for you for this next system. This is going into this weekend. What we're going to have is with this clipper system that is going to move down from the northern plains through the Midwest, that is going to help to funnel in cold Arctic air behind it. And we've been talking about this for a while now. You can see those really blue, kind of pink, purplish colors there in the northern plains, indicating those very cold temperatures. And once we get towards the beginning of next week here, you can see this is Monday afternoon. We have this very cold Arctic air locked in here into sections of the plains and Midwest. And as we've been talking about, this kind of battleground zone in between, I think we're going to get a couple waves of storms to ride through here and potentially bring some wintry precipitation. So the biggest question mark right now is, do these storms really materialize? Because right now models have been kind of all over the place with how many storms, the intensity of these storms. And then the second question mark is exactly where is that storm track? So we've had some models show tracks like this up all the way through the Northeast, much like what we've seen for the past month or so. And then we've had some models bring this low pressure a bit further south, which would help bring places like the Tennessee River Valley and potentially sections of the Mid-Atlantic, Northeast, and maybe even a couple places in the Southeast into the mix for some wintry weather. So let's take a look at our models here. We'll start with our GFS. This is for next Monday morning here. This is that weekend storm you can see working its way out of the country. So we should be clear of that by the time we get into the beginning of next week. But watch over here into the plains. You can see we get some stormy weather to work up and kind of override this very cold Canadian air. So you'll see here, this is one round of storms, I guess. You can see that kind of works through the Tennessee and Ohio River valleys and into sections of the Mid-Atlantic going into early next week. And then we get kind of another round going into the second half of next week that also helps to bring some of this wet precipitation kind of back into the picture. And then the question mark there is, how far north does this get, and how far south does the cold air get, and do we get overlapping to help produce some sort of ice storm or just winter storm in general into parts of the country? You see the GFS with that second wave does help to bring some overlapping there, and then this is what I mean, the GFS here with the second wave is pretty far south with these low pressures, and that's why the Mid-Atlantic may be in play going into next week. So that's the GFS. Let's take a look at the Euro now. So again, on the Euro here, this is this weekend storm. This will work its way out going into the start of next week. And then once we get into the start of next week, same thing with the Euro here. We get one round here to get some overlapping into parts of, I guess, kind of the southern plains, if you will, into sections of the Mississippi River Valley there from Arkansas up into Missouri. And that's just one round. You see the Euro here a bit more bullish with a second round getting some overlapping and some icing potential into the southern plains going into the beginning of next week. And then once again, the Euro also gets another round after that, much like the GFS, to work its way through. And with that round being a bit further south, and then this is the part where it's too far out and we have a ton of question marks, so we're not going to really discuss that. But you see the overall pattern here. Super cold Arctic air to the north with an active storm track to the south of that Arctic air, indicating we could likely get some overrunning of that precipitation with that cold air. And generally, I'll tell you, that usually spells icy trouble more than snow. So this is our blend of models for the next 10 days. And I don't want you to so much look at totals here, but more or less just the area I'm most concerned with seeing some of this winter weather. I think definitely here into the southern plains, but up here through the Ohio and Tennessee River Valley, I think having that greatest chance right now of seeing some of that winter weather due to that overlapping of that cold Canadian air mixed with some of these low pressures tracking through the region. Then another question mark, you see some of this very light shading here into the Mid-Atlantic and potentially the Carolinas. I wouldn't buy too much into this right now, but this is a generally supportive setup for some cold air damming, meaning we get high pressure that helps to funnel in this cold air, trapping it at the surface down here into sections of the Mid-Atlantic. And then whenever we get these low pressures to overrun some of that, that can help to cause ice as well. So if you're looking for snow right now in the Mid-Atlantic and sections of the Southeast and Northeast, I won't tell you it's not going to happen, but what I will tell you is if we do get wintry precipitation, right now it looks a lot more icy than anything else for those regions. So one of the reasons I have very low confidence right now, and most of us should with this kind of pattern, I will show you here with our European ensembles. So this is the weekend storm. You can see a very clearly defined storm signal there, meaning the models are definitely saying, yep, there will be a storm here at this time. You can tell by this clustering of these smaller numbers indicating low pressure. What we do have that you see here that the models are confident in is this cold high pressure, or I can draw this in blue so it's a little easier to see. But watch what happens here with the low pressure that we have those question marks about. So this is getting into the beginning of next week. You can see you're not really getting a very strong signal. You're getting kind of sections here of some of these low pressure signals to pop up, but we're not getting anything nearly as confident as a signal like this. And this is what you kind of want to see, is all of these numbers clumped together, indicating that the model is confident in a storm track. But as we move this through the beginning and second half of next week, you get a couple of places that we get some of these clusters here. There's one going into the first half of next week, and then behind that, there's not really much of a signal. You just have a bunch of kind of scattered low pressures all over the place here across the southeast and mid-Atlantic. So that is why we are not super confident on anything right now. But what I will tell you is the pattern is definitely conducive for some sort of winter weather through sections here of the mid-Atlantic and the Midwest, as well as the Northeast and potentially sections of the Southeast, although I wouldn't get too excited if I'm in the Southeast right now. So another way to show that is with our chance of seeing an inch of snow. Here's what this map will show you. So the brighter the colors, the higher the chance there is of seeing an inch of snow within a 24-hour time period. So I'll show this to you. This is going into the kind of middle of next week, and you can see we're getting a bit of a signal here for those chances in a lot of the same places that kind of had it just a couple days ago. Moving past that, you can see that's round one, and then we kind of get another round after that here into the mid-Atlantic and sections of the southeast, having at least some sort of signal of maybe some kind of wintry precipitation. And this again is going about a week out from right now. That's the GFS. Looking at the Euro here, again, a lot of the same stuff going into the middle part of next week. A relatively good signal of seeing some winter weather here into sections of the plains and Midwest, as well as the Ohio River Valley. And then after that, as we get into the second half of next week, again, maybe a signal here into the mid-Atlantic sections of the southeast and the northeast, maybe a bit more of a favorable setup for winter weather. So that's still about a week out, as you can see here. So we've got plenty of time to watch this, and we will continue to do so, of course. But one thing I am confident in, and I think we're gaining confidence in more and more, is that we will see some of that cold weather work its way into the east to start out February. So this is for next Tuesday, or January 31st. You can see here's all that cold air we've been talking about kind of bottled up. But as we move this ahead into time, you can see that cold air tries to work its way into the east. And I think during that first week of February, we definitely could have some below average temperatures throughout the east that may try to hold on a little bit and bring some of those colder than average temperatures. So that's something I am gaining confidence in. What I'm not super confident about right now is having a storm to interact with that cold air in the east. But we'll watch it. Of course, we've been fooled plenty of times this winter that we thought we may have something and then ended up trending the wrong way. So I'm not going to go out here and tell you that we're going to have some major massive storm next week that's going to produce ice and snow all over the place across the mid-Atlantic and southeast and a ton of places. What I will tell you though is we have a pattern that we can watch and we will continue to do so, and maybe those trends work in our favor, maybe they don't, but that's why I got to come back, I guess, within the next couple of days and keep on watching, and I'll give you those updates on those trends. But with that said, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you all tomorrow.